here we are in the new Audi TT, finally. Those of you that watched my Audi TTRS review of the last generation know that I'm a bit of a fan of this car, and the last TTRS that I drove for my channel was actually, if you would ask me personally, one of the nicest driving cars that I have ever reviewed. I really enjoyed that car on the roads where I usually drive on. And this is actually the third generation of the TT, believe it or not. When this car was launched, I was not expecting this car to be on the market as long as it has been, if I'm honest with you. I thought this was a little bit of a fashion item, and I was not expecting to see so many different generations of the TT now. This is, yeah, just amazing for me. The first generation is actually already considered a bit of a classic car here in Germany. We have this term where we call these cars that are about to become classic cars young timers, and yeah, it's great to see that the TT has become such a legendary car and that they have kept on developing it, because I think the idea behind it is really good, to make a sports car that is actually very competitive but still quite a bit cheaper than, let's say, a Porsche Cayman. And yeah, we are in the TTS, which is currently the strongest model. Sadly, it doesn't have the 2.5 liter 5-cylinder engine that I drove in the TTRS. That's coming, I believe, next year, hopefully with a manual option again, not just the S-tronic like they use it in the Audi RS3. But speaking of the manual, Audi actually remembered, without me saying, that yeah, I'm quite a bit of a sucker for manual transmissions. So they provided me with this TTS, which has a 6-speed manual, which is great. I've only seen reviews of this car with the S-tronic so far. So yeah, I'm very glad that they gave me a manual car. S-tronic is great, but yeah, like I always say, everybody can drive an automatic car fast. It's not that engaging for me. I prefer having a manual. So let's drive on some nice B-roads here, as we always do, and see what this car feels like. So what are my first impressions of the TT? Well, I have to say, if you have driven the previous TT generation, then you will feel right at home in this car. Of course, I have to talk about the digital gauge here, which is one of the biggest changes, I guess, but this also means that you get a really beautiful interior design, very clean and very clear looking, a bit inspired by an airplane, I would say. Many other reviewers have used this term, but yeah, with the air vents here, it really looks like the wing of an airplane a little bit, and these here are the turbines. So the design is really beautiful. The build quality, well, it's an Audi, what do you expect? It's great. But I have to say, when I saw pictures of this car on the internet and saw the first videos, I thought they had used the bigger steering wheel on this car, and I thought they had to do that because of this new digital gauge, that you have a better view on it. Because yeah, there is no screen here in the middle console anymore. Everything is operated through this screen here. But it turns out that the steering wheel actually feels totally the same to the one that they used in the previous generation. So it's not bigger, it is a little bit slimmer here at the 9.3 grip, which I like. Feels really great in your hands. And yeah, the first impressions are that it feels very much like the previous generation for me. I have great seats inside here, I feel very comfortable in this car. The Audi TT and also the R8 have a unique seating position that's a little bit hard for me to describe, but it feels like you're sitting a little bit higher, a little bit like this, but I really like it actually. It inspires my confidence, and I think people should talk more about the way you sit in the car, because that's something that really can inspire your confidence and the way you trust in the car when you drive it a little bit more spirited and dynamic. But yeah, let's talk about this digital gauge here. That's the big change, and that's the important thing, I guess. I have to say, I wasn't so sure if I would like it, because I am a little bit of an old school guy when it comes to cars. I really like analog gauges, and the ones in the Audi TT in the previous generation were just beautiful in my opinion. I really loved those. And I wasn't so sure if I would like this here, fully digital gauge, but I have to say it is an amazing working system once you are getting used to all the manuals. The steering wheel here really is crowded by buttons, and at the beginning I was hitting the voice button here a few times on accident. Yeah, it takes a little bit of time to get used to, if I'm honest with you, and going through the menus and so is not that intuitive to me. And yeah, I'm really struggling a little bit with it. I shouldn't say this. Audi will not like hearing this, but yeah, honestly, it takes a little bit of time to get used to it. But once you are getting used to it, and that's what matters, because the people that watch these videos and buy these cars will get used to them, of course, it's actually really nice. There are two different views, and you can change the view here on the steering wheel so that you can have a full Google map, for example, here on the screen, which is amazing if you're in a town and trying to find a destination. Then you have the speedo and the rev counter smaller, and in the middle the big screen. But I personally prefer the sportier view, I would say, where you have the big rev counter in the middle and also the speedo. That's what I prefer. Still not as good looking as real analog gauges to me, but yeah, like I said, I'm a bit of an old school guy, I guess, and yeah, Lamborghini does the same. Many companies are following this. It's what people want. Audi stands for new technology, so yeah, it works once you're getting used to. And on the other hand, thinking about it, it's great that you can do everything and operate everything just on the steering wheel. That's really amazing technology. So now we are on a great road here with many corners. Let's see what the TT feels like. Yeah, I like this engine. Can't say it often enough, but this 2-liter TFSI engine here is currently my favorite 4-cylinder engine on the market. It has torque from 1800 RPM up to over 5000. Just really nice driving engine. It likes to rev. Yeah, very powerful. I think this car would give a Cayman S or even a 911 Carrera a pretty hard time. The gear ratios are also very short. That's great. It means you can use 6th gear in town if you want to, driving 50 kph, but on a back road like this one here, you can shift a little bit more than in a Cayman S, which for me has, yeah, slightly longer gear ratios, which means that you don't have to shift as often. Steering is great, a little bit light actually. This thing has traction, it's unbelievable. The speed that I've just done there, wow. I have to concentrate a little bit here. Wow. Don't forget to shift. Yeah, this is one of the fastest cars that I've driven here, no doubt. So the one word that I would use to describe this car, I know it's stupidly simple, but it's actually traction. Simple as that. As far as traction goes, this car feels like it could take way more horsepower than the 310 that we have here. I hate it when I see people who are self-claimed Nordschleife experts talking about driving dynamics and call this car boring. It's not boring. You have to keep in mind what kind of customers buy these cars. There are many females driving TTs, for example. I'm not saying that females are worse drivers, but I'm thinking that many people buy these cars because they want something that has a certain look, that looks sporty, and that feels sporty to somebody who isn't necessarily somebody who wants to drive on the limit all the time, if that makes sense to you. So in the area where I live, the TT is actually a very popular car. Here are many beautiful B roads, and yeah, the weather, the winters can be pretty hard here actually. So this is a car that really makes sense for many people that don't have kids and want something that looks sporty and offers all-wheel drive, you know. When I'm driving this car and driving it very spirited, I'm enjoying this. I like something that, you know, is predictable. I really do enjoy that. So dynamically, this is a great car, no doubt. And they have really done a nice job on the new chassis, I think. For my taste, it could be even firmer. I'm in an individual setting where I have put everything to the dynamic mode actually. But I think it could be even firmer for my taste. But it also shows you that Audi has a certain customer in mind for this car, who's probably different and not as hardcore when it comes to driving on the edge of the limit. Or yeah, I think it really is something that shows me that this car is focused on being a great car to drive on public roads, not something that you would buy to do track days in. So I'm not sure how much of the sound is coming through on video, but the sound of this car is actually one of the most disappointing things about it for me. The TTS comes standard with different settings for the sound, so it has a sound generator, this car, but the induction sound or also the exhaust note are disappointing for me. I want to have more sound in this car. Other than that, well, there isn't much to criticize about the TT, if I'm honest with you. I already mentioned that it takes a little bit of time to get used to this new multimedia interface here, everything digital. But if you own this car, drive it 2 or 3 times, then you are already doing everything with no problems. From the driver's point of view and from somebody who really likes to drive very spirited, I have to say something that annoys me is the fact that they have gone for the same pedal setup that I already mentioned in the Audi S3 review and also in the Seat Leon review. So we have a hanging gas pedal here and no longer the standing one that I had in the TTRS of the last generation. So this pedal setup is a little bit more tricky when you want to heel and toe. Not so great for me. I don't understand why they changed that. And the last thing that I want to mention is that this car, for some reason, is on Hankook tires, which I'm not so sure about these, if I'm honest with you. Some people like them, say they are handling great in the dry, but not so great in the wet. But I think this is a German car, and a German car should have European tires on it. So if you go for, I think, the 20-inch option, then you get Pirelli P0s. If it was my car, I wouldn't want to have Hankook tires on it. I would either go for Continental, Pirelli or Michelin tires. Yeah, but with quattro, traction is never a problem, so even on these tires this car, as you've seen, handles great. But it's something that I wanted to mention because I noticed it. So in the end, for me this is a great car. I very, very much enjoy driving this. And yeah, I'm really hoping that Audi is going to bring the new TTRS out here soon with more power, because I think this car can handle more power easily. And I also hope that they will make a version with a manual transmission again, like the one that I reviewed last time. The last TTRS, yeah, was a great car. So if you have any questions, guys, post a comment below. Tell me what you think about this car. Hopefully I will get the chance to drive the TTRS next year when it's coming out. And yeah, tell me what you think about this car. I really, really like it, and I'm going to keep on driving it now. Enough of my rambling. See you in the next video, guys. Take care.